Well, finally, after so much waiting and so much nagging of Danny Townsend on Twitter by basically everyone on soccer Twitter, we finally have the draw for the 2022-23 A-League Men season. I'm Brad. I'm joined by Samuel. Welcome back to the Couch Critics. Samuel, the draw's finally out. How excited? You've had a bit of a look. Looking forward to the upcoming season?
Look, I'm excited for A-League to be back. Am I optimistic as a Sydney FC fan? That's a different question, but it feels like it's around the corner now. It's like Christmas Day when the fixtures come out. So can't wait.
It's only just 2 months and a bit. Oh, when I saw it, I was so excited. I was thinking, oh, it's Christmas tomorrow, but our Christmas is still two and a bit months to go. I think, what is it, about the 6th of October, we're kicking off with the grand final rematch. It's so long. But
7th of October.
7th of October. Yeah. I'm so keen. Like, I'm already looking through the schedule and thinking, what away games can I go to? What home games can I get to? I'm super excited. And hopefully this is going to be our first normal season, hopefully uninterrupted season since well before COVID in 2018-19. Fingers crossed, of course.
Yeah, and that's one of the big features. So I guess we're just going to dive right into it. One of the big features of the A-League draw is some normality. Pretty much all weekend games. I think there's a couple, what does it say? There's
always a Friday night game, Mondays. I think, most of the time.
Yeah, 6 Mondays, 2 Tuesdays, and 1 Thursday, and the rest are weekend games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is just fantastic. There's some consistency in fixturing. Is going to be huge for the A-League.
Yeah, and those midweek games you mentioned, I think there are also games on like New Year's Day, so that actually might fall, I don't know when it falls. There's an Anzac Day game. There's a January 26th, the Sydney FC Melbourne Victory game. So most of those midweek games are actually based around public holidays. So it's finally good to see the end of. And it's not like the A-League deliberately had midweek games last season. It was because of COVID and everything and the torrential rain we had. But fingers crossed, we're all good for this season. Now, we did a video, I think, last month talking about what fixtures we would like to see for the opening round. And I got my wish. We got a grand final rematch in the opening week, Melbourne City versus Western United. That's how we're going to open the season at Amy Park on 7th of October, 7:45 kickoff. I think that's a pretty good way to start the season. The Premier's up against the champions. It'll be pretty exciting. And then looking through the rest of the schedule, Brisbane Roar against Macarthur back at Brisbane's spiritual home of Lang Park, the F3 derby in Gosford, and a big blue to open the new Sydney Football Stadium account in the A-League. And Wellington back at home against Adelaide United, and the Wanderers up against Perth. It's a pretty good opening round, but obviously there's no local. Well, I guess there is a local derby. It's the first game of the season, but there's no Sydney derby or there's no Melbourne derby. The proper Melbourne derby and the proper Sydney derby.
Well, I think the F3 derby might shake their fist at you. But yeah, I think that's one thing. It's good that the two big derbies, your Melbourne derby between City and Victory and your Sydney derby between Sydney and the Wanderers, they're not the first fixture. And I think a lot of fans have been complaining about that. Although we do still have some kind of big matches where you'd like these teams to have a bit of form behind them. So, I mean, the grand final rematch, people have their opinions on that rematch.
I will die on that hill. It is a rematch.
It's not really a rematch because they're not playing for the grand final, are they? So,
anyway. If it's a replay, they're playing for the grand final, and I will die on this hill. But anyway, let's move on.
So you've got that is a bit of a derby. You've got the F3 derby, which they really care about, and that matters. And I'm sure both teams will go into that pretty fiery. The Big Blue is a big match, and depending on which Sydney FC fan you talk to, actually they still view that as the big. That's the game they want to win, even more than the Wanderers. I don't know about this season. We'll see how the return of Stinkovic does, but. And then you've got another derby in there with Wanderers up against Perth. That's the haven't won a grand final derby. So
yeah, you made the joke. You made the joke before off air, and it wasn't funny then. And you're the only one laughing now. Anyway,
it's funny when you've won a grand final. So look, there's some big matches, which, and again, it's hard not to put them in. But I think it also you've got to have a big fixture for people to get excited about. I think. Particularly after the season the A-League has had,
Mm.
You've got to have some of these big matches. I think the F3 Derby is a great idea. I think the Big Blue actually is a good idea. That's to open up the Sydney Football Stadium against our kind of traditional biggest rivals, the Victory. That's going to get people through the gates. And I think that's a great way to start. Some other features of the draw, there's plenty in here, but one of the big things is there's only 6 weeks before the FIFA World Cup. There's going to be a break of a couple of weeks. And the APL has actually really tried hard to make that fair for everyone. And it's one of the features that kind of goes throughout the rest of the draw, but they've tried to give each team 3 home games, 3 away games before the FIFA World Cup break. And where that's not been possible, it's only out by 1. So 4 home, 2 away, or 2 home, 4 away. So that's quite an even start, so that each club can actually get fans in through the door before the World Cup, and then hopefully then use the energy of the World Cup to bring people back afterwards as well.
And I don't think we're seeing it like we said about the big Sydney or Melbourne derby, which they have always tried to get out in the first couple of weeks. They've actually, on the 6th round, the one before we go on the break, they put the Sydney FC Wanderers derby that week at the new Sydney Football Stadium. So I think that's actually a really good way to go off with a bang, and then we go off to the World Cup for even a bigger bang, hopefully, when we beat France and Tunisia and Denmark and win the whole thing. So that'll be a great showcase for our game before we go off to the World Cup. And I think the Melbourne derby, when's that? Is that round 3? So that's still not in the opening 2 weeks. So I've liked that move, not to have the derby in the first couple of weeks to build up for it. I think there's a lot to like about the draw. And you said there's a real lack of midweek games as well.
They've also tried to stop teams having big runs of away games or home games. I think that's been a feature of the last couple of seasons. I mean, not talking about Wellington or Perth here, who've kind of been trapped, but there was a period where Sydney had like 5 home games in the space of 7 weeks, and then a month and a half with no home games. And as a fan, you actually want that regular kind of chance to go to the football. And so I think it's a fantastic effort from the APL. We've given them a lot of stick in the past, and the last season, their first kind of season in charge wasn't great. But this is already showing that they've listened, and we've been critical maybe of Danny Townsend, who tweets a reply and says, "Oh yeah, we'll look into that," and then never does anything about it. But this is some evidence of the APL really listening and trying really hard to hear the fans and take on board the feedback they've given, which is great. And I think probably the last big feature of that is fans complaining about the simultaneous kickoff on a Saturday night, and that's been scrapped. So there's no 7:45 simultaneous kickoff. There will be a couple of 5 p.m. Saturday simultaneous kickoffs, but that big slot that's going to be live on Channel 10 is just the one game the whole season. So I think that's again another piece of the APL listening and giving us what we wanted, which is a fantastic decision.
And they've also got, I was never a big fan of those 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time kickoff, 6:30. I always thought it was a crap time on a Sunday arvo on a school night. I wasn't a big fan of that. And I think for the most of it, I think 5 might be one of the latest kickoffs we have. Like you say, hats off to Danny Townsend and the APL for listening, because I think Danny Townsend does a lot of tweeting, a lot of talking, and I haven't seen much action from him, but hats off to him. There's been a bit of action here with the draw, and let's hope there's a bit more action heading into the season from him and his team.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Bradley, if there was one fixture that it's definitely down in the calendar, you're not going to miss it, it's the game you're most looking forward to for Wanderers, what is it?
There's a lot of games I'd like to go to. I'd love to go to the opening round of the season, but unfortunately at a 3 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, the 9th of October, that's halfway through the Bathurst 1000. And being a journalist at the local newspaper in Bathurst, I don't like my chances of getting that day off. But I think I'm really looking forward to the first derby at the Sydney Football Stadium. It's a really nice stadium. Well, it looks like that, and it's got plenty of places to go for a poo. 600 toilets apparently, so I don't know which one I'm going to choose. But that's going to be a fantastic experience. hopefully to be a part of that experience at the first derby at that stadium. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to a game at Campbelltown against MacArthur. I mean, technically they are the local rivals. I just don't think the Wanderers fans care that much about them compared to Sydney FC. Yeah, there's a lot of games, and I think I'm really looking forward to hopefully get a few mates from Bathurst to go to the Wanderers Central Coast game. I think it's the first weekend in November down at Parramatta. So yeah, there's a few games, but I think for me, it's definitely going to that first Sydney derby. It's the week before we head off to the World Cup. I think that's definitely the one for me. I want to get around.
Yeah, and absolutely for me, that obviously stands out. And I think the Australia Day Big Blue down in Melbourne, even though I probably won't go to it, it's just I love that the league has these kind of fixtures that have become.
And then the Central Coast, I think, have a New Year's Day game as well.
Yeah, they always have the New Year's Eve kickoff, and they have their fireworks afterwards. Sometimes it's the F3 derby. I didn't actually check that one for them, but
it's Melbourne Victory.
Oh, okay, excellent. Well, as long as it's Central Coast have their game, I think those things are really important for just building those stories over a season, and I can't wait to see it all unfold. And what do you think is going to be the biggest headline of the first match day?
Oh, the first match day, geez. First headline. Well, let's have a look at these fixtures. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of good ones. I'd really love to see Charlie Austin really perform on his first game for Brisbane Roar, because he's taken social media by storm. His love affair with Red Rooster. He loves a pun on the horses. He seems like a real good character, and he really seems like he's on board for this journey here. And I think him getting a double in his first game against MacArthur, I think that'll be a great way to say hi.
First A-League game, he did get a double assist in his first FFA, Australia Cup game.
But I think a big performance from him in the first A-League game for him, I think that'll be really cool, especially when Brisbane go back to Lang Park, and hopefully that can pull a really big crowd. I think that's probably something I'm probably looking forward to the most. And I think, still that first game in the new Sydney Football Stadium, I think that'll be pretty special. That'll be a pretty spicy game as well. And, I think if I was a Sky Blue fan, I'd be pretty worried going to that game with real lack of anything happening in that off season. But you never know. I think, it's Melbourne Victory were the better of the two teams last year. And yet I think Sydney FC really performed under that underdog tag against them. But, anyway, I think for me, it's probably that Brisbane Roar fixture with Charlie Austin.
Yeah, I think probably the big headline of the first round is going to be no flipping way, as Lewis Nani scores a goal, pulls out his old trademark celebration. I don't know if he does it anymore, but he's going to try it. He's going to score, do a backflip, hurt himself, and then Sydney will take the game and win it 2-1. And I think that'll be the headline. And then Lewis Nani won't play again in Australia after. No, I really hope not. That would be terrible for that league. But I think that Big Blue is going to provide some fireworks, and I look forward to watching salty NRL media complain that fans are back at the A-League and pull out all their tricks.
I think you think it's NRL fans being salty. I think we all know who the real salty other sport is, and it's AFL by a country kilometre. It's definitely the AFL.
Yeah, absolutely. But thanks for watching our video, guys, and let us know which fixtures you're excited about, what of the features of the new draw you're most kind of happy about. And thanks so much. Make sure to leave a like, and we'll catch you next time.